Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome. Today I'll talk about 4 U.S. presidents: Chester A. Arthur, Grover Cleveland, Benjamin Harrison, and again, Grover Cleveland. Chester Alan Arthur was the 21st U.S. president. He served from 1881 to 1885. The son of a Baptist preacher who had emigrated from Northern Ireland, Arthur was born in Fairfield, Vermont in 1829. He was graduated from Union College in 1848, taught school, was admitted to the bar, and practiced law in New York City. Early in the Civil War, he served as a quartermaster general of the state of New York. In 1883, Congress passed the Pendleton Act, which established a bipartisan Civil Service Commission, forbade levying political assessment against office holders, and provided for a classified system that made certain government positions obtainable only through competitive written examinations. The system protected employees against removal for political reasons. Acting independently of party dogma, Arthur also tried to lower tariff rates so the government would not be embarrassed by annual surpluses of revenue. Congress raised about as many rates as it trimmed, but Arthur signed the Tariff Act of 1883. Aggrieved Westerners and Southerners looked to the Democratic Party for redress, and the tariff began to emerge as a major political issue between the two parties. The Arthur administration enacted the first general federal immigration law. Arthur approved a measure in 1882 excluding paupers, criminals, and lunatics. Congress suspended Chinese immigration for 10 years, later making the restriction permanent. Arthur demonstrated as president that he was above factions within the Republican Party, if indeed not above the party itself. Perhaps in part his reason was the well-kept secret he had known since a year after he succeeded to the presidency, that he was suffering from a fatal kidney disease. He kept himself in the running for the presidential nomination in 1884 in order not to appear that he feared defeat, but he was not renominated and died in 1886. Publisher Alexander K. McClure recalled, "No man ever entered the presidency so profoundly and widely distrusted, and no one ever retired, more generally respected." He was married to Ellen Lewis Herndon Arthur. Grover Cleveland was 22nd U.S. President. He served from 1885 to 1889. One of 9 children of a Presbyterian minister, Cleveland was born in New Jersey in 1837. He was raised in upstate New York. As a lawyer in Buffalo, he became notable for a single-minded concentration upon whatever task faced him. At 44, he emerged into political prominence that carried him to the White House in 3 years. Running as a reformer, he was elected mayor of Buffalo in 1881, and later governor of New York. Cleveland won the presidency with the combined support of Democrats and Reform Republicans, the Mugwumps, who disliked the record of his opponent James G. Blaine of Maine. A bachelor, Cleveland was ill at ease at first with all the comforts of the White House. "I must go to dinner," he wrote a friend, "but I wish it was to eat a pickled herring, a Swiss cheese, and a chop at Louis instead of the French stuff I shall find." In June 1886, Cleveland married 21-year-old Frances Folsom. He was the only president married in the White House. In December 1887, he called on Congress to reduce high protective tariffs. Told that he had given the Republicans an effective issue for the campaign of 1888, he retorted, "What is the use of being elected or re-elected unless you stand for something?" But Cleveland was defeated in 1888, although he won a larger popular majority than the Republican candidate Benjamin Harrison. He received fewer electoral votes. After leaving the White House, Cleveland lived in retirement in Princeton, New Jersey. He died in 1908. Benjamin Harrison was the 23rd U.S. President. He served from 1889 to 1893. Born in 1833 on a farm by the Ohio River below Cincinnati, Harrison attended Miami University in Ohio and read law in Cincinnati. he moved to Indianapolis, where he practiced law and campaigned for the Republican Party. He married Caroline Lavinia Scott in 1853. After the Civil War, he was colonel of the 70th Volunteer Infantry. Harrison became a pillar of Indianapolis, enhancing his reputation as a brilliant lawyer. Harrison was proud of the vigorous foreign policy which he helped shape. The first Pan-American Congress met in Washington in 1889, establishing an information center which later became the Pan-American Union. At the end of his administration, Harrison submitted to the Senate a treaty to annex Hawaii. To his disappointment, President Cleveland later withdrew it. The most perplexing domestic problem Harrison faced was the tariff issue. The high tariff rates in effect had created a surplus of money in the Treasury. Low tariff advocates argued that the surplus war was hurting business. Republican leaders in Congress successfully met the challenge. Representative William McKinley and Senator Nelson W. Aldrich framed a still higher tariff bill. Some rates were intentionally prohibitive. After he left office, Harrison returned to Indianapolis and married the widowed Mrs. Mary Dimmick in 1896. A dignified elder statesman, he died in 1901. The first Democrat elected after the Civil War, Grover Cleveland was the only president to leave the White House and return for a second term 4 years later. His second term was from 1893 to 1897. Please refer to the story about him earlier in this lesson. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode. Prezi signing out. Bye.